Looking to Flutter. So the first thing about when you want to create a project on Flutter is, first of all, let me close. Let me just remove this and then use this alone. So I'm going to close this here. So when you open your VS Code initially, you are going to see something like this. So you can use VS Code and then you can also use Android Studio. So they are both editing software, code editing software. So now, me using VS Code right now. So if you are going to create a new project for Flutter, after you've installed Flutter, you follow the step from the video I sent. Then you are going to, if you open VS Code or you open an Android Studio, it's something similar like this that you are going to see. So to create a new project for Flutter, now you come to, now if you have other projects before this is where you see those projects that you've been running before. Then also, if you want to search for, if you probably you have projects in the directory, so this is where you can just click and then you can search for the projects here, then you can open it. So now we don't have any projects. Now all we need to do is you go to the terminal. This is the terminal, and you create new. Now you guys might just be familiar, you're just coming across what terminal is. So stamina is more like when you have Windows software. Something like this. Then you want to go to a file like this file here, this GitHub here. So instead of me using my mouse and going to this, clicking all of this just because I want to open a file, I can also do that directly from my terminal. So for instance, if I type pwd, pwd simply means the current directory that I'm currently on. So the current directory this file is on. So this is user and Daniel, which is name of my system here. So this is it. This is it here. This is it. So and if I want to show all of these things I have here in this current directory. So and if I want to show all of the things that I have in this current directory, for me to do that, since I know that I'm currently in my Daniel, which is this folder, this home directory here, to list out all of these folders here, I can do ls. So ls will simply list out all of the folders that are inside, just like you can see here. We have desktop, we have documents, we have downloads. Same thing you have here, desktop, documents, download. So for instance, if I want to go to my downloads, for instance, these are the things that are on downloads. So what I need to do is I will use a command which is cd, which means command. Then I will type this, because where I want to go is downloads. So I will just type download, type the word. To auto complete, you can hit tab on your keyboard, so it also completes it exactly like this, and you enter. Now you are currently in the directory. So if you want to list out what's inside of the directory, you want to see what's inside, you use ls to list it out. Now you can see these are things I have inside of this download directories, same thing as this. So terminal is basically used to run applications directly from terminal. So you use code to run application, to navigate through your system. So that's basically what you use terminal for. So now, to come back to where we are going, we are going to create a project. Now, to I'm not going to create a project inside of these downloads, but I want to create it in another directory. So what I need to do is I need to go back to the current directory, to the directory I was before I came here. So to go back is cd dot dot. So meaning it's going to go back, and if I use w to check my current directory, wpd, so it's going to, now I know that I'm currently in this file down here. So for me to create a new project, now I can create a new project in this document here. You will be creating a project. Okay, if you once you install Android Studio, you install anything. So to create a new project, you always have to come to Studio Projects. This is Studio Projects. Now I only have one app currently there. So but most of the projects I'll be working on, I only save them is these documents here, and then I save them it's GitHub. So these are basically all the projects I have in my GitHub. So and that's why I do just come to here to save any folder that I create. So but for you, you are going to be, whenever you want to create a new project, you should always come to this studio project, because this is, whenever you create a new folder, a new Flutter project in Android Studio, this is where it's going to store. This is where exactly it's going to be. So for me to navigate to this studio project, all I need to do is, now that I know that I'm in current directory, which is this Daniel, so I will need to go to that directory now to check for the list, to see all of the directories that are currently under is Daniel. I'll use LX, and there I will see studio project. This is studio projects. Now to go to this studio project, I'll do CD studio tab to autocomplete. Then I'll navigate there to see all of the folders there. Also, I'll use LS. You can see there's only one project that is there, which is this test app. Now to create a new Flutter project, now the command to create that, to do that, is you use flutter create okay, let me add it of class. Now you will notice I'm using underscore here. So the reason is because you can't give a space for when you are naming something. So instead of you giving a space, you use underscore. And also you can't use this, for instance, you can't use, if I close this and use this, you can't use this. It's not going to create, it's not going to work. So if I hit enter now, it's not going to do anything. You are going to see an error. Now if you look at it now, it's saying habitable class is not a valid Dart package. So that's because we use this slash, so what we do is use underscore, so to space it instead. So now it's going to start creating the project. So now our project is created. Now if you go to the project directory, now can you see this is habitable class? So and if you open it, so this is folder structure. So now to open this folder here, so what you can do is you can just click on open file and then go to your directory here, and then this is it here. Then you open. Yeah, you can trust because you created it. Of course you have to trust some of the projects that you'll be working on. So except projects probably you download some source code from online, and then because if you download a source code online and you don't know if the code is safe, and you run the code on your system, then you might be exposed to some attack, because the code is you are downloading code from untrusted place, platform. So now this is the folder structure for Flutter. Now to explain what all of this does is this. Now this is just VS Code tab bar here. So and then this is where you explore, you see the folders for Flutter. Now if you look at here, this is that tools. You don't need to worry about this you don't need to worry about it, but this is the Android folder here. So whenever we create, like I said, Flutter is used to create, Flutter creates Flutter code. You build app for, so Flutter supports both Android, iOS, desktop, and all of those things. So when you are going to be writing your code, is basically this is the library here. This is where you are going to be writing every code that you'll be writing is going to be here. Now the code that you are writing here, now the compiler is going to generate code for Android, so which is going to be in Kotlin. So then this is the grade, all of these things that is responsible for the Android building. Now then also for iOS, which is going to be I think it's Swift here. So this is, so Flutter is going to generate code for everything here. And then for the desktop, now I mean this is for the desktop application. Now this is Linux, so this is the Linux folder. If you need to, because there are sometimes that you need some configuration, every device have their own configuration, then you will need to um navigate, I mean to go into any of the folder here and then do some edits from them. So this is the Linux folder, this is the Mac OS for Mac operating system, and this is the web. So this is for when you want, if you want to, if you are building for web also, this is the folder here. And then this is for Windows software. So these are all of the platform it supports. So now when if I come to this lib, so this is the main, just like we have. Now if we go to Flutter Flow, now this is the reason why I'm saying if you learn Flutter Flow, you'll be able to understand, you know how Flutter, I mean how to build app very well with Flutter. Because the people that developed this Flutter Flow, I mean they gave a really good, I mean the way they structure their the way the AI that is responsible for generating, the way they generate code is kind of a very good structure. So if you, for instance, if you look at, if we should go to source code here, now if you come to this main, now this main that you see here, now main is the function of main is that if you look at it here, this is the main that we also have here. So and I also I mean in the that class that we had earlier, I said whenever you want to start an application, you should always start, I mean a main function needs to run. So this is the main function also. Now this main function is what is responsible for running the whole application. Every other thing that is inside here, the main function is what starts it. So if you look at the main, and then we call run app, so this function runs, and then we have a class here which is my app, and this is my app. See, this extend is stateless widgets, and then and this is the constructor, and then we have an override which is the build method that builds things on screen. So which is the same thing here. If you look at, if you check, for instance, if we go to the sign up page that we developed here, now if you look at the source code, if you view the source code here, am I not seeing anything on the screen? I believe you guys can hear me, please. If you can't, let me know, please signify. uh am I not seeing anything here? Okay, let me just go back. So if you're able to view this code now, you'll be able to see all of the code that is written to just to generate this, just to build this app here. So if now, for instance, if I'm going to run this app, so I have my emulator opened here. So also if you are using a Windows, or if you are using Windows, you would not be able to have something like this. You are going to be running, and so let me just open, because most people have Windows system. So if I run the code now, I'm going to run it on my, because whenever you are installing the Android Studio, if you follow the video very well, now this is what you install, I mean an emulator. This is the emulator here. So if I open this emulator, now this is the emulator. So this is what you will see. In your case, if you are using a Mac, you'll be able to, I mean you'll be able to have both S code, and this S code, S code is responsible for bringing this. So this is simulator, which can only work on Mac, and this is emulator, which can work on both Mac and iOS, I mean and a Windows system. So now if I'm going to run this code, now when I click here, this is the device I'm going to run it on. So to run your project, what you can do is you can come to this side and run it from here. So and then okay, if you are using, I mean to run it on, I mean with your keyboard, you can use control is it control, I'm not sure because I'm not using a Windows, I've forgotten. But if you need to run it, you can just run it directly from here. And also if you overthrow it, you will see the command to run it from your keyboard. So for instance, on my laptop now, I can use both Shift and Command D to run it directly. So because we are running the project for the first time, it's going to take a little while because this project is not. This is a small project, just the starting of application. Whenever you create a new project, this code will always generate. We get generated. I mean, will be generated. So now, but assuming you start when you start adding so many things, database and all of those things, then sometimes you might whenever you want to run your code, it can take like 30 minutes before it will show. Especially when you start adding big stuff inside. So this thing supposed to have shown. Yes, because I'm using emulator to run the code. So it's building already. Okay, so here is the project. Now this is it. So the first thing that you saw was a splash screen. So now this is the code that you always, whenever you start a new project and then you run the project, this is what you always see. The first screen. So whenever you click here, this is going to add. Will continue to add. So that's what it says for. Now explaining what this code is. Now when it comes to Flutter, now we have basically have two types of widgets. Now we have stateless widgets and also we have a stateful widget. Now in this one we have a okay, this is a stateful widget and also this is a stateless widget. So what stateless and stateful widget does is this. Now stateless widget is you use a stateless widget whenever you have a screen like this and there is nothing that is changing. A static page meaning on user interaction nothing changes. I mean if I do anything here, nothing is going to change. So that's the function. That's what stateless widget does. Stateless widgets is only used to draw things on screen that are not going to change. Things that will not change on any kind of interactions. But for stateful widgets are used whenever you need an interaction. For instance, we need an interaction and we need to build this. So if you tap on this, this is changing. So this is why we use a stateful widget because the state of this application needs to change on user interaction. So a state simply means that the current position of the widget of the widget tree. Uh, that's what a state simply means. So to change the state of this application, I mean of this view that we are seeing now, it needs a user interaction, and this is it here. So whenever I click on this button, the state changes. So whenever you click here, this widget, I mean what you see here gets rebuild. So every time you click on it, it will rebuild and show this alone because this is the part that is changing. So that's function of a stateful widget. Now there are a lot to really know about both stateless and stateful widgets, but as time goes on, we are only going to be building projects. But as time goes on, you get to understand what some of the methods that are instead of stateful widgets, what you can use them to do, and all of those things. So because we have so many things that you can do. Now to explain this code here, what this everything that you see here, what it does is, now we have this, like I said, is the main function which needs to be called every time. I mean, anytime you run your application, this main function will always be at the first. I mean, at the first tree of your application. Now, the my class, my app that you see here, this is a stateless widget which has a build method that returns a material app. The build method actually returns a widget, and then we return but a material app. So now here comes for you to what material app simply means is material app holds all of the widgets, both what you see on Flutter Flow that we've been using here, all of these things that you see, these buttons, these tests, widgets, it's inside of material app. So material app is designed by Google, I think so, yeah. We also have Cupertino. Cupertino is made by iOS. So this is basically if you want to develop only for if you want to develop just for iOS, so you can decide to use Cupertino, return a Cupertino here. So if I write Cupertino, uh, comment. I don't think there's actually a Cupertino match app. So anyway, whenever you run an application, I mean, whenever you need to draw anything that has to do with, I mean, for anything that you see here, so you use a material app. Now, basically, if you need to use anything that has to do with just only um, that relates to iOS, then you can use Cupertino. I've not been using Cupertino. In fact, I don't think I've even used any. Okay, I only used Cupertino a few times. Maybe I'll need to show something, a scaffold or anything, then I can decide to use Cupertino widgets. So now this material app has a title, which is the Flutter demo that you are seeing. Then a theme. If you need to set up a theme, so the current color scheme here is which is this color here. So which is what you see here. So this is basically for theming your applications. So now then the material 3. So this okay. Now we have material 2. Basically they are just design components. I mean, if you are if I should go to the material website, material design. So if I should go to the website, so every developer that you see out there, they make use of, I mean, they do go on this website to check, because all you see here. Now this is get to know material 3 from UX guidance and tools to reduce reusability components and open source. So whenever a designer, like someone that works on UI/UX, because before you start a project, someone must have done the design. It's after you've seen the design, then you have the idea and the view of what you want to build. So after then you start building all of those things from Flutter. So a UI/UX designer also comes here to check for components that they can use. For instance, if you look at a dashboard here. So all of this, there are components that we make use of. So if you look at if you look at Flutter, this is Flutter part. So if you need to check any kind of, so many things that you can do here, you can check here. But if you come to the components, so these are components, just like you have inside of Flutter Flow. Now if you see here, we have test, column, row, column, all of these things that you see here, they are just components, which they are widgets. So they are components in material design. So not just Flutter, it's not just Flutter developers that make use of this. Every developer makes use of this, because every UI, front end developer makes use of this. If you need to do anything, you don't want to know how a card can be used. Now this is an example of card. Now this is material 3. So there is material 2. Material 3 is an upgrade version of material 2. So and that's the reason why you have on Android, if you just buy a new Android phone now, and then because of course it's going to have higher Android version. So and these are basically what you'll be saying, this kind of design. So if you are using an old Android operating system, so you are not going to see something like this, because the Android now Material 3 is only supported in the new Android version that are coming out, and also iOS version that are coming out. So you're not going to see something beautiful as this. So compared to Material 2, you can still find them in some of old phones that we have. So now this is Material 3. So every design, if you need to check the guidance, check how it's being used. Like for instance, we click on card. So card, you can make use of card and build something like this inside of Flutter. So that's the Material app. So this Material app is every component that you see here in Material design in the website is what's inside of this Material app. So I just need to explain what Material app is all about for you guys. So now, so inside after this Material app is when we can have our home page, home. So this is where it's now going to show. This home is what you see right here. So this is the home you see here, where we have my home page class. So this is of type, it's extend a stateful widgets. So and then we have methods here, which is to increase the counter. So this method that you see here, this thing that you see here is here, this is where it's being applied. So whenever you click on this, it will increase the counter. So it's defined inside of the state of the class. Like I told you, stateful widgets use whenever you need to change the state of an application. So this is it right here. Now you don't need to really force yourself to understand all of this, but as time goes on, when we start building projects, now you are going to be of course at a point you'll be comparing both Flutter and Flutter Flow. Now when you are building an application inside of Flutter Flow, whenever you come to Flutter, you'll be able to understand how things work. Why some things works and why some of them are not working. So for instance, what we did here, we have a column and then we have an image and all of those things is exactly the same thing. If you want to do that inside of Flutter, you just need to call the class column widgets, put all of these things inside of it, and then you'll be able to build that inside of Flutter. So now if what you see here now, so if I should go inside, now this is the body, same thing as this. I don't know why this thing is not showing the source code yet. Okay, now correct. So now I'm seeing the source code. So first of all, let me go to a simple page. Okay, yeah, this page. Now like I told you, so because now this, of course we can use a stateless widget right here, but this is code generating software. So this automatically, because whenever you want to add an action, so they only make use of the stateful widgets here. So if you look at this, there's an init state, you don't need to worry about this and dispose states. But now this is where I want to take you to. Now there's a scaffold. Now in our code right here, from the example that is run for the first time, we have a scaffold. This is the scaffold. Now this is the scaffold too. Then this scaffold key, you don't need to worry about this. Now we have a body. So the body is what we have here also. Now what was returned inside of the body is a center. So there's a center widget. So you might not have a center. We don't have a center widget in Flutter Flow, but you can decide to make your widget a center widget whenever you align them. So now, but in Flutter there's a center widget. So this is the center widget. Now and then we have a column. So just like you can see the way things are aligned here. So just like we have all of these designs here, so it's exactly the same way you are going to build app in Flutter also. So you knowing Flutter Flow will help you to, if it will help you a lot whenever you are building an application in Flutter, because you already have idea, you know how things work, you know the kind of widgets that you can use. So all you need to do is just to call the class. and then you'll be able to see, you'll be able to build anything that you want. Same thing whenever we start, when we start implementing a backend inside our Flutter Flow application. In fact, that's where it's going to, in fact, it's going to really help you a lot to understand how backend works, how you can structure your backend database to fetch data, display data, and all of those things. So whenever you will need to come to Flutter, it will be easier for you. So now, from coming back to our code here, so we have a colon. Now, this is the colon here. So we have a center widget. So if, for instance, if I'm going to debug, so open DevTools. Now we have DevTools. You don't need to worry about this. I'm just using this example so that you can see some things on the screen. So if I click here to overlay guidelines and to assist with fixing layout issue, I only want to check the layout issues just like we have here. All of these things that you are just seeing like this. I want to check something like that in Flutter. So if you check, if you see what I have now on my screen. Now this layout, it's analyzed the whole screen and the widgets that we made use of inside of the screen. Now you see a test widget here, and then you see an app bar. I explained what app bar is in Flutter Flow in some of our classes. I explained an app bar. An app bar, if you click here and just apply an app bar, this is an app bar. Same thing as what the name is also in Flutter Flow. So this is the app bar here. So if I click here, so this makes me help me to figure, to go to navigate directly. If I click on the screen, it will navigate directly to where the widget is on the widget tree. So if I click on the app bar right here, now you see this is it here. So it takes me to the widget tree here, and this is the app bar. So exactly the same app bar that I have here is what is here also. So then the background color is of inverse primary color, which is from the generated from the primary color that they use inside. And then inside we have a test. Now this test is what you see here. This is the widgets. Now test widgets, this is just a test, this is a class. Can you see it here? So this is it. So same thing as what you have here is what you also have inside of Flutter. So knowing Flutter Flow, in fact, will help you a lot if you want to learn Flutter itself. Because I will not lie to you, if you really want to be good at what you are doing, you need to know the coding aspects part also. So that way it's going to help you to, it's going to, you're not going to be limited to just Flutter Flow alone. That way you'll be able to implement custom code, custom functionalities, just like we have here. If you need to implement custom functionalities, you can do that. Custom widget, you can do that because you have idea of Flutter. You know Flutter. So now, so it's still the same thing. We are learning Flutter, we are learning Flutter Flow. This is just like, we are still learning same one single tool, which is still Flutter generally. But this is just drag and drop of Flutter, and this is Flutter itself. So it's still the same widget that you call here. Whenever you are building your application widgets, you need to apply any widgets. This is still the same thing that you have. So now, just like we have the center widget here, then we have the column, and then we have this is the main axis alignments. If you recall, we did something like that. If you look at this column, we have main axis alignments, and then we have cross axis alignments. So if you check inside of column properties and look, if you overthrow them, you'll be able to see the properties that you can set. So these are the parameters that you can set inside of column. We have main axis alignments, which is initially set to main axis alignment or start. So the marks, all of these things. Same thing, just like you have here. So it's something that you can easily get. So now the children, like I said, also it takes children, just like we have here. We have a image here, we have another role here, we have another image here. So it takes children. So these are the children that it takes, meaning you can have one or more than one element inside of the children. So this is it exactly what we have here. And then we have a test widget, which is exactly the same. This test widget that you use inside of Flutter Flow is what we have right here also, which is this. And then we have another test widget. Now this is test widget. Now we have this dollar sign counter. So this is the state that is being rebuilt whenever you click on this button here. So this is the state that rebuilds. So the counter increases. This is it here, and then it has a style. Whenever you want to style your test widgets, exactly the same thing right here. So is all you have right here also. And then we have a float action button. Now if you need to know about, to get float action button inside of Flutter Flow, you can just search for widgets, and just type float action button. Float action button. You see, this is the FAB. You can drag it anywhere, and then it's going to specify it right here. So this is it here. So which is exactly the same thing that we have right here. Now you are seeing, if you look at this right here, this is having a circle. Yeah, that's because flutter flow is still making use of material 2, right, in this project here, because this, what we have here, this circle float action button is from material 2. So material design 2, that this thing that you have here. So if you go to components, so okay, so if you go to material design 3 here, I'll send this link to the group. I'm going to send this later. So if you go to the components and you come to, now if you look for float action button, you'll see it. FAB, yeah. Actually, I'm not saying it now. So, well, if you, I mean, this is how float action button looks in material 3, and then this is how float action button looks in material 2. So, now the same float action button that you see here is what we have here also. So, whenever you click on this, this is it. So, this is what it is inside of Flutter. So, so the action that you seen here, I've not taught you action on Flutter flow. So before I'm going to teach you action, I'll have to teach you first on Flutter flow. Then I'll come to, then later in any other class, then we'll treat actions for Flutter. So because I need you to understand how I need you guys to understand how one works and the other one works. So now, real quick, let's do something. Now let me close this DevTools. Now we are not going to have, if I refresh, I think I'm still having something on the screen. This is still on. So if I cancel it now, we are not going to have it again here. So now we are going to do something similar to this inside of Flutter. Now something similar to this, we are going to look at rows, columns, and then we are just going to rows, column, and stack. So for instance, we don't have much time again. So now if, for instance, you want to let's create a new file here. To create a new file, for instance, I'm going to call it new page. You can come here, you can see the file, you click on it, and then you call it new page dot dat. So you need to always extend it with dot dat, so that way you know, and the compiler will know that you, I mean the code, VS Code will know that you're working with a dat file. So if you click enter, so then you'll be able to have a new folder, a new file. Now there is an extension if you are installing for the first time. So I'm sure in the video that I sent on the group chat, you would have seen, I mean, they would have tell you to install some extension. So to install some of the extension that you need to install, there is a particular, okay, I'm going to send it to the group, and you guys can install the extension. So what the extension does is help you to to be fast whenever you are writing code, and also for some to make your VS Code look fancy and all of those things. So now I want to create another page, something similar to this. So now I can call this a new page. So to create, because this I'm really drawing something on the screen. I'm not changing the state of this. I mean, there's no I mean, if I there's no need for any kind of buttons to tap and then something change inside of this screen. So for me to build something like this, I can make use of a stateless widget. To do that, you can use STL. So now STL, you see some suggestion here, which is Flutter stateless widgets. You click on it, enter. Now it's going to bring something like this, and then you can type my name of the page that I want, my new page. Now you will notice I'm using a common casing here, so we call this a common casing instead of using a space or underscore. So you just use you start each of new word, you use capital letter for it, so something like this. So now currently, now this is extend, I mean this is returning a placeholder. What I need to return is a scaffold. So and then a body, which is going to be a container for now. So the same container that you have inside of flutter flow is still the same. This container, this is it here in flutter. So if I go back to my file now, and then in my main.dat file, now instead of returning an home page here, because this is the home page, this is the stateful widget class that you have here, which is responsible for this. Now I'm going to return the new page that I created, new file. So which is what I'm going to do here. To call that class, I'm going to call my new page, which is this. So I'm going to use a constant here, so you don't need to worry about this later. You get to understand why we're using a constant here. So now if I go back to this place, you'll see an empty screen. So this is the new page that I created that you are seeing right here. Now you see a debug here, so showing a debug, meaning you are on debug mode, meaning you are still developing the application. And if you need to cancel it, you can just come to material app here, right from here, and call, there's a parameter which is holding it, so which is debug something, show debug banner. Actually it's supposed to be inside of material, show debug banner, debug show checker mode, the banner, so which is you set it to false. Now that is going to go, now you can see it's no longer there. So now to build something like this, first of all I'm going to start with a column. Now a column is what, if you check the widget tree, just like now, look at this widget tree that you have here, it's exactly the same thing that we are going to be doing here also. Widget tree simply means how your code, I mean the tree of how you put your widget, you places all of those widgets, so which is exactly we have right here inside of flutter flow. Now you notice that this started with a colon. Now what I need to do here is I'll start mine too with a colon. So if you check here, you can have, then this colon I have children, because the children are what takes here, I mean what I have inside, so it's going to have a children. Now it's saying I should use a constant, so you have, of course, whenever you installed the necessary extensions, you'll be able to get all of this kind of this message that you should add a constant. So now inside of this column you have a wrap, so this is the wrap here. Now if you check the properties of the column right here, so you see that the main axis element is cross axis element is stretch, and then the main axis element starts from the top. So but if we place in our own application that we have here, you can see it here. So let me do something now, let me bring the screen together. So okay, first of all I will need to add a new windows, then drag this here, and then drag this here. So I have this in another windows now. So okay, so now we have the screen, we have the Android emulator now. So now we have a wrap inside here. So to use our wrap, now for instance I'm going to, okay, I don't want the so now to put a wrap inside, I'm going to call the wrap widgets. So it's a widget too inside here, so we can check children, and then we can take, so we can put the container inside. So this is the container. So now because we have a container, it's complaining that the constructor being called, the evaluation of this construct constant expression throws an exception. That's because container changes can change the width. I mean, it can change its state. So you don't need to use a constant here. So we can remove the constant. Now we are not seeing the error again. Now we can give a width to this container, which is going to be 100, and the height of 100. So in flutter flow container, whenever you add a new container, automatically there's always going to be 100 width and 100 height, but for flutter you need to specify the width. So now then also you can see we are, I mean, on the screen right now you are not seeing anything. So now for us to see something, because the background is also white, so and then the background here is transparent for container. So to see something on the screen you can just have the color property here. So there's a color property. If you need to check the properties of any widget that you are using, just over through it, then you will be able to see the properties. So to check now, to give it a color, we have a color class. So you can call the color, you can say colors dots. Now you'll be able to see some of the colors that you can use. So you can search for any color and then you click here and save. Now you see something. Now you can see the screen, you can see the container right here. So same thing as also we have, there's this container. Okay, so the wrap is having little, okay, it's not actually having anything here. So so now what we can do now to now, so if I'm going to, because wrap can take more than one, it can take more than two, one than one children. So I'm going to just copy and paste the rest here. Actually, now this is going to put it in the next line. So I can decide to wrap this inside of a padding. So just like I taught you guys inside, like you can wrap, for instance, here, like you have here, you can wrap a widget. So this is the, you can wrap. Now you can wrap with, I mean, to give a padding to any widgets here. For container you can just come here to pad them, but for flutter is, I mean, padding is another class of its own, and also container also has a property which is padding. So the padding is going to only pad the contents that you put inside, but now we want to pad the outside. So we can wrap the container. Okay, now the first container that we wrap in padding, you can see it has a padding of edge insert dot all, which means all sides, all side it should pad it. So which is what we see here. So let me just remove this and use this one here real quick because our time has gone. So if I'm going to do this, you can see, so I also have this again, same thing. So and I have it again. So this wrap is only going to, I mean, whenever it's it wants to exceed the space on the screen, it's going to bring it to the next line, which is the work of wrap. So and then column is only going to put one, I mean, put widgets one side, I mean, one after the other. Row will only align them. So real quick, let's because even on Google Meet, time is going very soon. So for now we are still inside of the wrap. So to go to, now we only want to put it inside of the column children. So now we need comma, put type comma, then let's make use of row class now. So row can also take in children. So we use the same one against this one that we have here. So we'll copy this and then we'll paste. So we'll paste again, we'll paste again. So now you can see this is the row. So rows will align children one, I mean, side by side. If I decide to add another one, you are going to see an overflow. So can you see this is the overflow that you are seeing here. So and then inside of the debug console you can see there's an error which shows that there's an overflow. So now we can remove this. So because row we only align widgets side by side, it's not like wrap that it will take it to the next line. So now real quick, let's use another one, column. We already use column already because column makes us to be able to align them one after the other here. But let's use, now let's put the container also inside and the padding, the ones that we have. Now you can see. So just to differentiate them, colors dots blue or black. So let's just use black here. So just to differentiate them, you can see it here. So this will continue like that, like that, like that, and then you also there's going to be an overflow, yeah, of course, because now it has already gotten to the bottom of the screen, so this is why you are seeing an overflow. But assuming we need to make this to be a scrollable screen, all we need to do is to wrap this column. We have another widget another widget which is called a single child scroll view. This is it here. So now there is going to be an error, so meaning you can scroll. So if I decide to add another padding inside of this, so now if you scroll, you can see that it's scrollable now. So so um so I mean that's what we're going to look at this night. So this is how you we are still going to, in our next class we'll still be looking at laying out widgets in Flutter. So of course we'll be having the next class is going to be on Flutter Flow. So after then we'll have Flutter. So the next Flutter class we'll be having is going to be laying out widgets in Flutter. So we are going to be looking at developing something like this in Flutter later. So that's where we're going to stop now. So I'm going to